Hello and welcome to episode 204 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet in my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is October 16th, 2023. Today I'm wearing one of my favorite loop cowls that I knit out of Angora yarn, and it's from a German dyer who have their own, is it rabbits? Well, the animals that you get the Angora from. So I know they are treated nicely and well, and they have a good life, and their hairs are just combed to get the yarn, and then they spin the yarn and they dye it, and it's fantastically soft. They have wonderful colors. This is the second project that I've knit with their yarn, and the first one was bright pink. It's also a cowl, and this one is these dark blue and bits of green and purple, and I just love it. And the pattern is the Wolkig, which means cloudy, by Martina Behm. It's one of her free patterns, and it's one of her simplest patterns ever. Most of her patterns are simple anyway, but with this, there's just one set of instructions where you cast on the stitches, you put in 4 markers, and then you follow the one line of instructions all the time until you cast off. So it's really simple. It still takes a long time, so there's lots of stitches in here. This is just a 50-gram skein, which ran, I think, 500 something meters. So it has very good yardage, and I felt it was never going to end, but I did want to use up most of the yarn, so I made it as long as possible. So it's long enough for me to just put around my neck like this if I'm wearing a jacket, and I can just tuck it in like this. So this is one way I can wear it, and the other way is to pull it over my head. I'm going to do that in a minute, but before I do, I'm going to show you the jacket, the cardigan that I'm wearing. And I knit that one out of Noro yarn, so all the colorful yarn you see is Noro yarn. This is one of my favorite colorways by Noro ever. And in between, I knit some dark blue alpaca yarn. That was not Hansafam because it was either before they existed as a company or before I knew of them. So this is Wollerödel baby alpaca. It's very close to the DK weight alpaca that Hansafam sell. And yeah, that was my contrast color. And the pattern is from a Noro magazine. It's linked on my Ravelry page, and it has a very interesting construction. So I think we started down here, and then we knit up to there. You did that on both sides. Then the back is knitted sideways, and then the sleeves are somehow attached. I don't remember. This cardigan is 10 years old. I still love it a lot, and it's a perfect piece for this kind of in-between weather when it's not completely cold yet, but it's not really warm anymore, and it just warms me depending on what I wear underneath. It's a very versatile garment. I like it a lot. And today I'm going to show you one more thing that I'm wearing, and I usually wear knitted socks when I do my podcast, but I usually never show them because I say it's too complicated to show my feet. But I think when I knit the knee-high socks with the many patterns in there, I think I promised I was going to show them one day. So today is the day. So I'm trying to show you my feet and my legs. And these are the very colorful knee-high socks that I knit out of the Knitting Rebellion book. And this was the first one. I was using fairly small patterns because I wasn't quite sure yet how many rows I needed to finish the parts. And then with the second sock, I knew how many rows I had, so I could pick bigger patterns, and then I chose this one. And then here's my name, just in case someone forgets. I love ice cream. I like butterflies. My sister loves butterflies. And then there was just a tiny pattern up here. And these are my knee-high socks, and I love wearing them. They are so bright and colorful and different and special and personal. And now I've proven that they fit and that I actually wear them. Okay, now let me quickly put this on, and then we can continue with. I can also pull this over my head if I forget my hat, something like that. And this is just, so I can pull it fairly wide, as you can see. So if I want it a little less warm, I can wear it like this. But today I think I'm going to go for as warm as possible. Yeah, and I think the colors of the cowl and the cardigan go together really, really nicely. So that's great. Okay, then on to finished objects. I have a proper finished object today. Quite proud. It's not a big surprise because the mystery Nit Along for the Haunted House MKal by Stephanie Lotvin from Tellybean Knits is over. So on October 13th, we got the last clue. And I actually managed to knit it on the 13th. So it's been finished for 3 days now, but I still haven't washed and blocked it. I'm not even sure if I woven in all the ends. I have woven in all the ends. Quite proud of myself. I don't think it's a mystery anymore, so I think I can just show it now. So we had clue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, that was 11 and 12, so that was 2 days. And then 13 was the ribbing at the bottom of the cowl. So it's a really big cowl. It's quite a bit bigger than I expected it to be. I forgot to weigh it. If I remember, I'll do that and put the number on my Ravelry page. In the beginning, I was a bit, I wasn't quite sure whether I was going to like it with all the different colors and the big mix. But I must say, once it was finished, I could sort of understand what was going on. So we have these bigger bands of patterns, and then we have those small contrast highlights in between, and I really like it now. So I think last week I had already knit this, and I was debating which color to use for the backgrounds with the little ghosts, and I tended more towards the purple, the light purple, and I think the fact that they aren't quite clearly visible, depending on the light, you can see them rather well, or you can hardly see them at all. And I think that fits with ghosts. You don't always see them so clearly. And the other thing is that the orange wouldn't have been enough. I only had very little left over of the orange, so I was quite happy I used that color. From the specifications in the pattern, most of my yarns should have run out, but there's always a bit of safety margin, I think, in the numbers. But I did actually run out of the glittery white, because the white that I used here and here has some stellina in it. So here, both the white and the blue are glittery yarns. You can see, I think, the glitter in the blue here, and you can probably see it in the ghosts a little bit here. And then when I did the skulls and the bones, I ran out of that yarn. So the lower skulls, they don't have any glitter. So that's just a normal white. So that's the one color I ran out. And I ran out of the green right at the end. So instead of using a different green, I just decided to use the leftover yellow to cast off. And I think, so that wasn't in the pattern. In the pattern, the whole thing would have been one color. And I'm not quite sure whether the purple would have been enough if I'd done purple pumpkins. So I'm, very happy with how this came out. I'm looking forward to washing and blocking. Washing, essentially, the cowl. I'm not really blocking it. I'm just laying it down to dry after I wash it. So this is the back of the cowl. You can see this bit was knit to and fro, and then here is where we close to knit in the round. This is the inside with all the floats, and all one of the ends woven in are on this side. So it looks a bit chaotic, but it's the inside, so that's okay. Did I forget one? I think I forgot one. But that's okay, it doesn't matter. I'll do that later, and then I'm going to wash it. And So that's my finished object. Haunted House MKal was a lot of fun. I think it's the only mystery knit along so far that I've done where I got a bit of knitting every day. So with the mystery gnome knit along, we always in December we usually get an email every day, but it's not knitting every day. So sometimes it's a bit of stories, sometimes it's a recipe. But this, I think, was the first time that I actually had to knit something every day. I think sometimes the socks or other advent calendar knit alongs are sometimes with a bit of pattern every day. I don't think I've taken part in any of those yet. We'll see. And then I have another sort of partial finished object, and that's talking about gnomes. Sarah Shearer is the designer of all the gnomes that I've knit so far, and she has now designed something else. She's designed 3 different toys. I think she used them to teach toy making on how to knit toys and how to finish them, and she's releasing the patterns one after the other. So the first one has been released. I'm not quite sure. The second should probably be released. Either has been released already or will be released soon. I certainly bought the whole pack the way I usually do. And the first one, so the whole group of patterns is called Sproutz. And the first pattern she released is called Seedling. And this is my first seedling. And I think it's so cute and so funny. So I didn't do the stitching of the mouth the way I was supposed to, but I think he looks quite funny this way with the big safety eyes. So this could actually be used by a kid to play with. Wouldn't fall apart. He couldn't take off the eyes. And yeah, 2 little feet and this little decoration on top. And it's just a little toy, and he's not supposed to stay by himself. So the pattern gives you 3 different sizes. I'm not sure I'm going to knit all 3, but I'm definitely going to knit a second one. He definitely won't be alone. So this is Seedling. Seedlings itself is finished, but the project isn't because I need at least another one. Yeah, so that's the finished objects, and on to works in progress. I'll continue with the socks, and again I haven't knit on the instant crush socks for my sister. I'm feeling really bad about that, so I will definitely knit on it tonight. That's my plan for tonight, is continue that sock. But I did continue knitting on the film reel sock. This is for my older nephew, so my sister won't complain. She'd rather I knit for her sons than for herself, so she's that way. But this is the first of this pair that's finished. It's the Crazy Water colorway by Opal that I'm using for the films, and really, really like the way they look. And I think I said last week that those 2 look alike a bit, and then those 2 look alike. So this one's a bit different. And I think this is the bit that's in the heel and probably also up here. So I thought it was quite interesting that we have another kind of film in the sock. And I've started the second one. And I think this bit in the colorway is the same as down here. And now, yeah, I think so. This film is probably what's in the ribbing now. And it looks different because it's knit by itself. It's not, doesn't have a contrast color going between it. So it looks a little different, but I haven't really knit enough to see a lot. So, oops, just the beginning. But for me, it's always important to have the second sock started. That way, I usually never get a second sock syndrome. If I finish the first and don't start the second, sometimes it gets a lot more difficult. So that's that. And then there's another sock that I started, and that's the second pair of Squiggly Madness socks. So last week I showed the first pair that I knit, and those were her socks for my sock couple that I knit every year. And these are going to be his socks. And as I said, there's only one contrast color. There's no picot cast on. And this is the color that I'm going to use for the as a main color for most of the sock. So this is the contrast color. It's not exactly the same brown as in the skein, but I think they work together And then once I finish the ribbing, I'll start the sock with this color, and then there will be 2 stripes going down the foot, the leg and the foot, the way 2 of the squigglies did on her socks, but instead of being squigglies, they will just run straight. And I very much like the fact that this yarn was inspired by elephants, because elephants are one of my favorite animals. And this is not exactly the color that I would like to wear myself. So I'm really happy that I can knit them and I can work with it and then give the socks away. It's a very good deal. So that's that for socks right now. The next project I'm going to show you is the hat that I'm doing out of the book that I introduced you to 2 weeks ago, I think. And I had this like massive ribbing that seemed to never end. And I think I knitted the last 2 rows. I just did knit stitches. I was just too tired of knitting ribbing. And as I'm going to fold this over, it won't really show. But I was so much looking forward to knitting the color work, and I really like it. So in the pattern, they use 2 different colors. So one color is used for these parts where you only have 1 stitch in the contrast color, and you use the other color where there are 2 stitches next to each other in the contrast colors. But I'm just using this leftover yarn by Opal. Pretty sure it was the comedy series, and I really enjoy the way the striping works in the colorway, and I quite like this this pattern that's sort of a bit uneven, but I really like the way it looks and the stripes come out. And yeah, so I can continue knitting that. And now when I fold the brim over, then I have the right side of the cast on showing, and that was the technique that I was supposed to learn, or that I did learn with this project. Yeah, so looking forward to finishing that hat, or continuing, not promising to finish it. Okay, then the next project is the Mystery Knit Along by Stephen West. I told you this year is my year of mysteries, and for a short time I was knitting the Haunted House MKal and the Geogradient MKal by Stephen West simultaneously, but now I'm just down to the shawl. And last week I showed you the colors that I was going to use, and I was still waiting for the black yarn. And the German post managed to misplace my parcel. So instead of taking 2 or 3 days, it took a whole week for it to arrive. And in the meantime, I decided to just use a different yarn for my black color. So now I'm using the 3 gray colors. I'm using the Alpaka sock yarn by Hansa Farm, but for the black, I'm using their merino sock yarn. So this is 75% merino and 25% polyamide. And it's a very soft, very beautiful yarn that I've used quite a few times before. And I tried it out. I knitted the little swatch that I showed you last time. I added some black in the merino yarn and I liked it. So I decided that's what I was going to use for my shawl. And then I told you that the new version of Clue 1 of Stephen West's shawl is just a simple square with stripes. And in his pattern, you just do 4 garter ridges of each color. And you go color 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And I decided to change it up just a little bit. So I started with my color 4, and then I only did 3 ridges of the light gray and 1 in black, and then 3 of the middle gray, 1 in black, 3 of the dark gray and 1 in black. And that's what I will keep doing for the whole of Clue 1. And just to change things up a little more, I decided to do his mohair dare, as he calls it, and just throw in a little bit of mohair somewhere. And I decided to do that on this stripe of light gray. I used the same alpaca yarn, but I held it double with a strand of mohair glitter yarn. I have no idea what yarn this is. It was wound in a ball. It had obviously been knit before, and it had been knit before with a different mohair yarn, and the whole ball was wound with the 2 yarns held together. So while I was knitting this mohair yarn, my sister was winding the other mohair strand into a little ball so that things don't get mixed up too much. I use the same needle, so it's not a big difference. It's just slightly fluffier. There's a little bit of sparkle in there that the camera hardly picks up. And it's just a little bit wider than the other stripes. Yeah, but I like it. It's just a tiny little something, and I will probably try to put some mohair in somewhere in each of the sections, in each of the clues. But this is the mohair for this time. And I've almost finished my square. So I need to do one more stripe in the... No, already did the dark grey. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I only need one more stripe. So I have to do the two rounds of black, and then 3 garter ribs in the light grey, and then 2 more rounds in black. And then I will have finished clue 1. We've already received clue 2, and I really wanted to get this one finished and start clue 2, but I just didn't manage to do that. So I hope to do that this week, even though we already will get clue 3 this week. So I'm lagging behind a bit, but that's okay. It's not a race. I don't have to rush. All I want is a really nice shawl in the end, and I'm pretty sure I will get that. So one more light stripe and a few more black rounds to do, and then I can start with my clue 2. I've already had a look at it. I'm already trying to make plans which color to put where. But you'll see that next week. So that's the mystery knit along. Then I continued knitting on my V-back tee. Again, I did not do a lot, but I just have too many projects to be knitting loads on one project. Unless it's a mystery knit along, you know how it goes. Well, so I added a few more rows in the 3rd color. So my short rows are approaching the middle, but I'm not quite there yet. So I still have to do this bit, and then the same on the other side. I've just added a few more rows, so I'm getting closer to the middle. So the rows, they're called short rows, but they are getting longer at the moment. But at least it's a fairly simple part of the pullover, where the way that I repeat the short rows is always the same, so I don't have to think a lot. I just have to knit a lot. But I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what this is going to look like once I finish the short rows. And I think I'm then supposed to start the ribbing. I will definitely try it on before I do the ribbing, just in case I need to add a little bit more length before I do the ribbing. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Okay, that's that. The other pullover, or the other top that I'm knitting, the I keep forgetting the name, but with the lace and lots of pattern in the yoke. I haven't knit on that again, so I really feel bad about that. Reina de Picas is the pattern, and so if I do the socks tonight, I will promise to knit on that top tomorrow. That's the plan. But I crocheted on both my crochet projects. I would have loved to crochet on my blanket as well, the green one, but no time for that. I added some rows to my shawl. The pattern is called Grüne or something like that. And yeah, so I keep creating new corners, and oh, didn't put a stitch marker in, so I have to be a bit careful. Usually I put something in the stitch to make sure I don't unravel anything while I pick it up, but I seem to have forgotten. Yeah, and then there's always some sections on this side that do not get worked on anymore, so that the whole shawl sort of grows sideways and around. I'm now I'm mostly using both colors, the same amount of both colors, but in the beginning there were a few parts where I did 3 rows of the light color. Now I did just 1 row of light color somewhere, and then maybe at some point I'll do 3 rows of the dark color. up until the point where I will switch to only using the dark color. Yeah, still like how this comes out a lot. It's a fairly simple crochet. There's 4 different rows, but they keep repeating, and each of the rows is not difficult. So yeah, really enjoying it. Looking forward to the finished object. And the other crochet project is my pullover out of the Square by Shelly Husband. And there I did not do a lot, but I made some decisions. So that was the important thing. Last week I had it washed and blocked, and then I measured it. I compared it to some of the garments that I already have. And I decided that I'm going to, where did I start? Yeah, that's what I'm going along. Okay, I decided to repeat the 3 rounds, the last 3 rounds. So the first round is the one where I sort of create those groups, and then the next row is where I bring them together in the top, and then I did 1 row of double crochet or trebles, and I'm going to repeat those 3 rounds. So I've started with the first of those. So it's that one where I sort of create those groups. What I did was one side and a little bit, but still I made the decision. I started crocheting it. This round takes quite a lot of time because there are many stitches. Then the next one with the double crochets is a bit quicker, and then just the last round. And I'm quite confident that it should be big enough then. And I think I've made up my mind now to do the second part of the pullover with another big square. So I'm not doing several small ones, but there's another of the big squares that I really like. And I want to do that. If I do that and then add some rounds the way I did here, I should get 2 squares that are the same, and one will be the front and one the back. And then I can start thinking about the sleeves. And at some point, this is going to be a pullover, a cotton summer pullover. Yeah, so that's that. And that already brings me to the Nit Along. And I'm still knitting banana socks. And I finished the one that I was knitting on last week. And I think I told you that with this sock, I finally remembered to do this other toe. I think it's called a classic toe in English. And the funny thing is, last week when I told you I remembered, I'd only done the first decrease, and then I put it aside for a few days. And then when I picked it back up, I was in a group of people, we were talking, and I was starting to knit. And I looked at it and I thought, okay, I think I counted the stitches and I realized, okay, I've already done 1 decrease, so I can just knit a few rounds. And then I wanted to do the next decrease, and I'm like, why can't I find the first decrease? And things look so weird. And it's then that I realized that I had started doing this toe, but then I almost continue knitting the star toe because that's the one I always just automatically do. So I had to undo a bit of what I'd done so I could actually finish this as this sort of traditional toe. And I don't like knitting that toe for the spiral socks because with this toe you have a specific up and down, because this is what it looks like if you look from the top. And if you try, well, you could probably wear it this way, but it would look weird. And if you wore it something like this, it would look very weird. But and with the spiral socks, you don't have an up or down with the sock itself, so it's better, I think, if you can just pull it on any which way. But with the banana sock, you have a specific down and you have a specific up to the sock. So this is the sole and this is the front part of the sock, because the banana shape just comes through the stitch pattern like this. So it makes sense to have a toe that has a specific up and down. So I did that. I really hope I remember to do that when I finish the second one. By the way, the second one, not a lot. So I have 3 socks that I've only just started. I did start, I just kept using the yarn the way it came. So I finished with this color and then I started with this. And it seems that the 2 socks are going to be completely opposite again with the color placement. So I'm really happy about that. It's not really important, but I just enjoy the fact that it happened by itself. Yeah, so that's a banana sock. If you are knitting banana socks, you're very welcome to show your pictures in the Ravelry group for this podcast. It's called Kikos Strickschule, so it's the German name of my YouTube channel. But I hope you'll be able to find it. And yeah, I'd be really happy to see your pictures. That's everything I knit and crocheted last week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!